More than 20 refugees have reportedly been flown to Australia under the controversial medevac laws, even though they were approved for relocation to the United States.
It comes as the Prime Minister continues to negotiate with Senator Jackie Lambie for her support to repeal the laws. Live now to our political reporter Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, the government is hopeful it can seal the deal in the final sitting week of the year, but as we know from last week, nothing is set in stone.
Nothing is certain in this place, Laura, that's for sure. But they only have 4 days left to go if they want to get this medevac repeal passed through the Senate for this year. And we see today the government putting pressure on the crossbench again. This front page story in the Australian newspaper that around 20 refugees who had been approved to go to the United States under that transfer deal have in fact come to Australia under these medevac laws for treatment. The clear intent from this is to put pressure on the crossbench and make the case that they believe these medevac laws have in fact undermined the efforts to resettle refugees in other nations. But as for where we stand on those crossbench negotiations, it was interesting yesterday to hear from the One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. She received a phone call from the Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton. They were clearly worried about her support. Here she was.
I spoke to Peter Dutton personally yesterday. I have given him my guarantee that I will back it. He knows my word is my bond, and Peter Dutton's got no reason to question me otherwise.
So the government clearly spooked by what happened late last week in the Senate, where Pauline Hanson voted with them all the way through the amendments and then at the last minute decided to vote against that union-busting bill. But now she's guaranteed her support for this. Jackie Lambie remains the queenmaker when it comes to this legislation. As we know, she's demanding one thing from the government but not saying what that is publicly. But Labor's certainly not putting pressure on her to release that demand.
Well, that's a matter for Jackie Lambie. Why are there still people in offshore detention who haven't been placed in third countries, such as New Zealand or the United States or other countries as well? You can't have people in indefinite detention forever and not acknowledge that that will be having an impact on their health.
So we'll have to wait and see if the government does strike a deal with Jackie Lambie or if they are in fact willing to go through the Christmas period with these laws in place and continue to whack Labor for failing to repeal them.
Trudy McIntosh covering events of Canberra this morning. Thank you, Trudy. We'll talk to you soon.
MPs have returned to Canberra for the final sitting week of the year as the government tries to repeal the controversial medevac laws.
Jackie Lambie is still in talks with the government, but Pauline Hanson has revealed the Home Affairs Minister also called to confirm her support.
Returning to Canberra for the final sitting week of the year.
Are you excited for the final sitting week?
Of course, always.
It's the crossbench in the spotlight as Independent Senator Jackie Lambie continues negotiations with the government to repeal the medevac laws. She's pledged to support a repeal if the government agrees to one undisclosed demand.
I have given the government a choice. It can either pick A or B.
These medevac laws ensure that sick people are able to see a doctor when they need medical treatment.
Scott Morrison has locked in One Nation's support to repeal the laws, but after Pauline Hanson blindsided the government by quashing its union-busting bill, Peter Dutton was taking no chances, double-checking if she was still on board.
Actually, I spoke to Peter Dutton personally yesterday. I have given him my guarantee that I will back it.
The coalition's relationship with One Nation is damaged as government ministers and Pauline Hanson publicly trade blows.
And the most important currency you've got in politics is trust. And Pauline Hanson has shown over the past week that she can't be trusted.
After last week, Parliament's an interesting place. People's word aren't always their bond.
Christian Porter has said that there's text messages saying that I gave them my support. Prove it. Show the text messages. Because they can't be trusted.
The One Nation leader now promising to be more unpredictable going forward.
I don't intend to tell them how I'm going to vote on anything in the future.
For another week, Labor will continue to put pressure on Angus Taylor to stand aside amid the doctored documents saga. The New South Wales Police are expected to wrap up its investigation this week, but Anthony Albanese remains undeterred.
He's misled Parliament. You can't mislead Parliament as a minister and survive. It's as simple as that.
The minister will face another week under fire in Parliament after Labor blocked his plans to go to Paris for an energy conference. Trudy McIntosh, Sky News, Canberra.